To some, it is a mere state of existence. To others, it is the greatest gift of all. For most, however, life could be summarized as the relentless pursuit of happiness. Some people spend their entire lives hot on its trail. Many succeed. Others learn to accept monotony as the soundtrack of their lives. Questions, doubts, uncertainty. Common reasons that keep change at bay for many people. In the end, it all comes down to one simple question. Are you doing what you want to do? This is a story about the change experienced by one man and the ascent that answered the question of his destiny.
My name's Ryan Campbell and I work part-time as a rock climbing instructor. It's really helpful for me because he's kind of guiding me in a way, because I'm at that age where I need to know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And at first, I mean, getting into filmmaking, editing was the first thing I wanted to do. I only just realized that my idea in life was I did not want to work in an office. That's the one thing I don't want to do. And obviously if I become an editor, that's all I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be sitting in a dark room. So the first time I met Matt was actually on a rock climbing trip out together, and my first impression of him was that he was actually a cool guy. He's really fun. That was about like 2 years ago or something, and now we've become like really good friends. His story has influenced me a lot. Say, whenever we go like training together, we'll have a serious conversation saying, are you doing what you want to do? And he organized a trip to go to Nepal, and I went there, brought my camera along, and he said that, seriously, like, this trip will change you as it did to me. And just taking photos of everything, recording stuff, I knew, like, okay, I want to get into adventure cinematography, and I told him about it, and he said, you should start developing on this. I found what I want through him, basically.
Hi, my name is Matt Farr, and I run an adventure travel company called Mountain Quests. Before Mountain Quests was slightly different career. I was a banker. So I traded for a bank in the Middle East, based in Dubai, and my role was there to manage a portfolio. While I was working in finance, my mood was getting less and less positive. I was seeing the bad things in life rather than the good. These days, much happier. I look at life in a completely different way. I guess beforehand I maybe have been blinded by the fact that money was the root of all happiness. It really is not. I know everyone says that, but until you've been in a situation whereby you've experienced different things, it's difficult to admit that to yourself. So Mountain Quests, I guess we describe ourselves as a company that provides life-changing adventures, both on a physical as well as on an emotional level, to the Himalaya in Nepal, Bhutan, Tibet, and India. I guess there was one specific catalyst for what made me want to change my lifestyle from one of banking into one of adventure travel. I did not know that I wanted to get into adventure travel. That was an accident, I guess, in a way. I've been working in finance for about 6 years at the time when I decided to go on a holiday to Asia. And before I went, I wanted to make sure that I had all my vaccinations up to date, make sure I didn't get any weird diseases while I was away. And as I was there to get the vaccinations, just by a normal procedure, the doctor tested my blood pressure, and the blood pressure was very high. And the doctor saw it, was also nervous, and said the following to me, which I'll never forget. I've seen too many people in your position with your lifestyle who have heart attacks in their mid-30s. And I was 26 at the time, so something like that was almost incomprehensible to me. You know, a heart attack happened to a fat old man who'd been smoking all his life and eating burgers and you know, died at 70 because of it, not a 30-year-old. So that night I went home and I started to think what on earth I could do to improve my life. I knew it had to involve physical activity, as well as diet, of course, but mainly physical activity. But the big problem I have to this day is going to the gym. I find it dull and boring. I see the gym as an extension of the office, except you sweat in it. I always have to have goals to achieve things. That's why I like games, and that's why I like to get involved in team sports or whatever it might be. There's more motivation. So I got home and I was racking my brains on what I could do to improve my lifestyle, and it just so happened I put the TV on. And by luck, what was on the TV at the moment I put it on was a climbing wall, an indoor climbing wall. When I was there once, it'd been about maybe a month or two that I'd been going, but my instructor came over to me and said, "Matt, why are you doing this?" So I told her the story. I said, "This is why I'm coming," and told about my health issues and what the doctor said. And she just said to me, "Matt, this is not going to help you on its own." She goes, "This is fun and it's great, but on its own, it's not going to help you. So why don't you just go to Everest Base Camp?" And I said, "Okay, done, I'm going." So again, I mentioned I was impulsive. 7 days later, I was in Kathmandu. And I was met by a guy at the airport called Nima, who was going to be my guide for the whole trip. And we just met at the airport. We seemed to get along quickly. Went all the way to Everest Base Camp, just the two of us on our own. And it was a huge eye-opener. And in looking back, I don't know if I enjoyed it, which sounds a bit strange, but I was very unfit, so I was struggling on a physical level. It was such a culture shock to me because I'd never been to that part of the world before, so I hadn't prepared myself in any way. I got into my rhythm, got to understand it. Nima was incredible. I got to go and meet locals. Interact.
I've got no chocolate, I'm afraid. You get as fat as me if you have chocolate.
Learned cooking with them, had a great time. So I came back at the end of that trip to Kathmandu from the mountains, and I was at the airport. Nima was taking me back to the airport for me to come home, and I said, "Nima, thank you. Had an amazing trip. I don't think I'm coming back. It's too hard for me, but it was a great trip for me. It's opened my eyes." And he laughed at me and he said, "I think I'll see you again soon." And I said, "Yeah, whatever. It was nice to meet you." So I come back to Dubai, and something had obviously taken me and made me start thinking, because about 3 months after I got back to Dubai, I was sitting in front of my computer at work, and I just found myself looking at mountains in Nepal. And I've got a mentality where I can't, if I go somewhere and I like something, I can't just end it at the first hurdle. So in a trek, you walk through the mountains, you walk on paths, you don't go on them, but you see them all around you. I wanted to know what it felt like to be on those mountains that I was looking at, not just to look at them. So I called Nima, and after the initial laughing that he said, "I told you you'd want to come back," we got down to the fact that I wanted to climb a mountain. The final part involved the fact that I was approached to join a new company within finance. And it came as a surprise because I wasn't expecting this, but it forced me to think, do I really want to stay in this industry? I was already having doubts. So I plucked up the courage to quit my job with all the money and everything that was involved there, and to go out on a limb, and without even a plan. No plan whatsoever. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to do this anymore. And then I was out. And I was lost. So I went back to Nepal, and I was climbing with Nima, and this time we're on another mountain in the Everest region, and we get to the summit, and we're just sitting there and celebrating really that we're on top of this mountain. And he says to me, Nima says, "Oh, how's work?" And I told him, "Oh, I quit my job, I've quit." And he couldn't really understand at first. He said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I don't like it anymore." And he's like, "Okay, so what are you going to do now?" And I said, "I have no idea what I'm going to do now." And he looked at me and smiled, and he said, "Well, I've been meaning to ask this to you for a while now, but I didn't know when to ask. But would you like to be a silent partner in a company that I want to set up here? He was an employee for another company at the time, but he wanted to have his own. He'd been a guide for 10 years at this point, and he said, would you like to be a silent partner in a company I'm creating in Nepal that's going to cater to people who want to do adventure travel? And I said, no, I don't want to do that, not at all. I said, I want to be an active partner. And that's where the concept of me and Mountain Quests working together was born. On top of this mountain, it was pretty cool. So that was the catalyst, not for me to set up Mountain Quests, but for me to go on a life-changing adventure myself. On a physical level, it's helped me massively. I've lost over 20 kilos since when I was first told by the doctor to change my life. Much healthier. I couldn't even run 1 kilometer the day that I was told that I was completely out of shape. These days I go trekking, I go mountaineering. My passion is to climb mountains. I go kayaking, whitewater rafting, all fun outdoor stuff which requires a good level of fitness. I'm quite happy because I'm at a point now whereby I can just get up and go on an adventure. Maybe not on an extreme mountaineering trip, which I have to train for, but I keep my level of fitness at a stage whereby I can just jump on go rafting for 5 days and know I won't have an issue with that. On an emotional level, it's probably been an even better result. And I just live life as a series of dreams that I have now. So I think the key to a happy life is to have dreams, to follow those dreams, then to realize those dreams are never big enough because you're always hitting them, and then to get more dreams. And that's a great way to live life. You keep striving for something and you've got motivation to keep going.
Matt Farr is not just a man who climbed a mountain. He is a man who conquered his destiny. Today, he is following his dreams, dreams that eluded him in his past life, dreams that he could barely perceive. Matt's tale shows us that while it's never too late to embrace change, the sooner we take that first step, the closer we will get to finding our place in life. If you think that you're not doing what you want to do with your life, then it's time to stop existing and start living instead.